Radio.net. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
I want to talk about news, don't want the drama. From no pretentious media Madonna. I found me a great ganja mama. Cannabis and coffee with Tamarijuana.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cannabis and Coffee with me, Tamarijuana. I hope you're all having a great week. It's Wednesday, October the 18th. Yeah, it is already. Like, where does time go? Like, I've been asking myself that, I guess, since I hit 40. I don't even know what to say because it just seems like time marches on and we continue to march on and nothing seems to, benefit, or it's not that we don't benefit. We have benefited a lot in the last 8 years, I think. We've had I feel a better government, but again, they don't like talking about legalization of cannabis. And after 5 years of legalization, things have improved. Not so much for the patients because of our dosing, but apparently there's going to be an announcement coming up from Health Canada with some changes to the Cannabis Act. Now, what those exactly are, none of us are really sure. We have heard murmurings about doses being upped. The LPs are bitching about the packaging. Okay, and I'm going to say this again. Cannabis was never meant to be an industry. It was put forward for health and safety purposes, for testing and keeping it off the streets and away from children, and to law reform so that people weren't getting arrested. Blah, 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 blah. There's all kinds of reasons why legalization was imperative. For all kinds of other reasons than just so you could get rich off weed. The taxation rates, which are 75% are supposed to go to the provincial governments. And then that provincial government is supposed to, stream that down to the towns and cities that opted into cannabis, because there are towns that opted out, that said, no, we don't want recreational stores in our towns. And those towns then are not entitled to any cut of the cannabis taxation, and nor they should be. Why should you benefit off what other communities are feeding into the taxation base? Yeah, they totally did, Kelly. And I'm hello, how are you today? They totally did, and that's the thing. They rolled us in with the Cannabis Act, which a lot of us went to the round tables and we spoke out and we tried to make sure that they didn't forget about patients. But again, that's not where this was going. Patients already had their MMARs. They already had fought in court. They already had some form of protection already previously to legalization. Legalization was to basically make it so that we were all on equal footing. And 85% rates and crime rates have gone down since legalization. And and that to me is a really good thing. There are not great points. I'm not saying that it's all great by any stretch, but 85% crime rates down. People aren't going to jail for a gram of cannabis, or like myself, 6 months house arrest for 4 grams of cannabis to another patient, right? Prior to the Smith ruling, because again, we had patients in court fighting in the Supreme Court of Canada for all of this. So anything that we've gotten so far, of course, has all come out of our court systems. But again, like I said, there are good points and bad points. But the Indigenous sovereign, where the Indigenous people have taken over and really helped with the medical. And like one of our sponsors, Legacy 420, where they do mail order. And there are all kinds of, thankfully, places for patients to still gain better access to their meds if they need it. Now, the downside, of course, is because legalization diversion for designated growers who were, kind of funding, cannabis patients for free, which was absolutely terrific on all parts. But again, that's, that again has lost along the way, unfortunately. But I don't know. Like I said, in BC, we can now have the microcraft go right to the store. And I'm thankful because I've been smoking some really nice microcrafted cannabis. Um, I think I threw the packaging out because as soon as I get it home, I throw it into a jar. But this is really nice stuff. And it's not eradicated. It's got really nice terpenes, nice flavor, crystals all over. Like, and it goes directly to the store. Like, they don't even, death rates. Well, I don't have stats on that. Do we have stats on that? I don't see stats on that. And that's where I'm at. Death rates are up because of what? So where are the stats for that? Let's go looking for those, because I can actually do that. I can actually share screens on here. So let's go looking for stats on death rates since legalization. Let's see here. Okay, so this one here, we're going to go straight to this. Because I like, we'll debate this. I have no problem with that. And you and I will still be friends at the end of the day of this. So you know that, right? Because we can disagree and agree to disagree, but we can still be friends. And that's, we'll establish that right now. There is no animosity here in any way. Okay. So I love you. Okay. So here we go. Okay. So we're going to pop this up and here we are. So we've got some government, this is just a Google search, right? On Google, and the government of Canada has legalized and regulated restricted access to cannabis 5 years ago, 2018, right? And oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. And we'll, like I said, because of all of this, I understand that there are people that have, less access. But we want to talk about stats and fact, right? And I'm not saying that those aren't facts. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's unfortunate, and I'm really sorry to hear that. And I know a lot of people are choosing MAID, which is it's sad. But again, I'm happy that they can. If that's the choices that they're making, who owes anybody to say that that's not okay for them? I'm grateful that they can actually go ahead and use that source, and that nobody will be charged with murder. And nobody's being put in a position where they have to feel like they're doing something wrong. That's my thing with MAID. Anyways, we're going to look for stats on this. So we're going to, when to legalize, blah, blah, blah. We don't care. Cannabis legalization regulation. We don't care. We want to get stats on death. Okay. So cannabis legalization of weed, death stats. So we're going to go death stats in Canada since legalization of cannabis. All right, let's go and see what we got here. Yeah, okay, here we go. Crime rates of legalization are down. This is a decrease. I think we can see this. Can we see this? 85% decrease in the rates of cannabis legalization. Oh yeah, I agree. Affordability is a thing. But before, I'm just going to state this too. Even on the black market, I was paying $200 for an ounce of weed. $200. Okay, didn't know where it came from, didn't know anything about it, tested anything. I bought that ounce of weed that I just bought from the legal store that cost me $119.99. So $120. I could buy ones that are less. You can actually get, and as far as access, there's a store every 2 blocks in my town. We're a population of 20,000. There are stores like literally I could walk 2 blocks in any direction and there's access. And that's one thing we asked for, was dignified access. Now, again, you can't get medical advice because none of us are able to do that. Like, we're not We're not medical practitioners. We have no business telling people and giving medical advice. We have every business to tell our experiences and our personal feelings and our opinions. Not even opinion, how it helps us in our own experiences with cannabis and sharing testimonials. Affordability is really, yeah, for, I guess, like I said, but I just spent $100 on an ounce of weed. Before I was spending $200 on an ounce of weed. Yeah, it should be $1 a gram, and some place you can pick up ounces out here in these stores, honestly, Kelly, for $50. You can go to the res, well, not here now because our res was shut down, unfortunately, due to another incident that happened out there. It had nothing to do with the cannabis. You could go buy an ounce for $40. So the affordability, I feel, has come down a lot because of competition, because there is such an influx in the industry, right? Because there is such a large amount of cannabis being produced, consumption, right? It's $28 an ounce here. Well, that's pretty affordable. I think that's pretty affordable. I don't know, hun. Like, I that's pretty affordable, I think. Now, is it good though? Like, that's the whole thing. Well, of course, again, right? But even in the black here in town, I have another girl that came, and I paid $60 for a quarter of black market weed, and it wasn't that great. And that was a week or two ago. And then I had a friend of mine bring me an ounce of some medical, like he's a medical patient, right? And I still paid $100 to him for this ounce. Okay. So I guess it depends on where you are and who you know. But even like the weed man that I had that I was buying from before, it was $3,000 a pound I was paying, then it got down to about 1,800, and then it was down to about 1,500, and then legalization happened, and, we're going into 2 years after legalization, and then it was like, all of a sudden, he wanted still, $1,500 a pound. I'm like, "Dude, I can't even sell it." Yeah, I have a job though. No, like I work now. I'm not, and I've never been on any disability, and it's unfortunate a lot of people can't. Right, I get that too. Like I get that. I totally get that. Why, when I was able to grow, if I could give it away, I would. Right, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that can't afford it, and I know you did too, and I know you still probably do. And if I had, people coming and asking me that were really in need, I would give it away too. I'm doing that with other stuff, like psilocybin caps, and that kind of stuff, because people don't have access to that all over the place too. So there's, different avenues that we can help. I know that, anyways. Again, and I'm glad you're here. Do you want to come on? Like, do you want me to send you the link and then we can chat? Like, you can come on if you like. I can send you the link and then you could come on. Just send me a message if you'd like to. I'm good with that. Anyways, we're gonna look for, like we said, the decrease in uh, uh, arrests, and that for me is a huge thing too, because when, like I've said to Al before, I got into this for law reform. Like, I wasn't a patient when I first got involved in cannabis. I didn't even realize that there was an MMAR when I started legalization. When I started Southern Alberta Cannabis Club, to be fair, I wasn't really aware of so much of the medical need and the medical portion of it until I started getting involved in the community, and then realized that my medical need that I was using medically too, and whatever, and that I could get an exemption. That's what led me down the medical path too, right? So, but to begin with, I just wanted law reform. I just didn't want people being arrested for a plant that was, as far as I was concerned, harmless. Like, I remember one time my mom coming to my apartment, and I lived in an apartment, and we would stand out on the balcony and smoke cannabis, me and my girlfriends. So we couldn't, because you couldn't. I had kids, and I didn't want to smoke it in my apartment. It just stunk the whole place up, right? And my mom come over, and she was always banging on about cannabis, and I was like, "Mom, like, okay, so we're gonna do this, right?" So me and my girlfriend went outside. We knew my mom was coming. We knew she was on her way, and we went outside and we smoked a joint. And she was bringing me a laundry or something. The kids were small, and she come in and we started yapping away, and. And then I looked at her. I says, "I just smoked a joint and I'm stoned. Can you tell?" And she just kind of looks at me. She couldn't tell, because the only way a lot of people can tell whether you smoke cannabis or not is the smell. Seriously, if they can smell it on you, like my eyes don't go red. Like I don't wear it like a badge. Like when I smoke a joint, I don't get all glossy eyed, and some people do. There's no disputing that. There's some people that really get glassy eyed and actually, get pretty fucked up from weed. I don't, and I don't know why, and I never have. I don't know if that's got to do with my intolerance to, or my absorption levels too, for my intolerance for anything, for absorption. But yeah, anyway, but yeah, so that's why I got into cannabis. Um, was for law reform. So again, like I said, learning as I went along, patients, of course, became a priority, and they still are, as far as I'm concerned. That has not changed. But again, we even with Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners, we wanted dignified access. That's what we asked for. And then when we went into the government, that's what we asked for, was dignified access. So with legalization and regulation, they could actually prove that they were giving, access to everybody, but the dosing. So again, I think we're having some announcements coming out here in the next few days. I can't say the next few days. I'm not really sure. Let's actually look that up, because we can, like I said, we got Google at our fingertips. Announcements. I gotta learn how to spell on cannabis. What is it? Cannabis Act in Canada. See if there's anything on the Gazette, because that's where you actually want to look. The Montreal Gazette. Government of Canada legalized regulation, blah, 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 October 17th. Legislative review. Okay, so let's look at what we've got here. And this was October 10th. About the review. Cannabis Act, October 17th, blah, review process. Okay, so we're going to bring this up so we can read it together. So here we've got it. During the first phase of this work, expert panels undertook factual assessments in the impact of cannabis states through identification, evidence gathering, analysis, blah, blah, blah. The second phase of panel work focus provided on the legalization framework, implements the government provides. This will accumulate the preparation of a report carbon tablet by March of 2024. So it ain't going to be anytime soon, by the looks of it. But they've got until March of 2024. And then they can change that date too. They can extend it, and they can, do all these stupid things to extend stuff, right? Bureaucratics. And that's, where we're at with that. Okay, let's go over here and see if there's taking stock. Okay. So this is quite in tune. Review of Cannabis Act, health consumption, habits of youth. They want to hear from you. So this was the online questionnaire. It was due by November of 21. So that doesn't help much. There's also a separate document titled Summary for Engagement with First Nations. Let me just get into protective measures, blah, 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 evidence and trends. Proportion of consumers of cannabis for non-medical purposes or high frequency of use remains stable over time. In line with survey, 2018, about 1/4 past year cannabis consumption, consuming 5 or more per day among general population. Frequently use remains unchanged for youth population. Prevalence of daily use continues highest among young adults, with those between 20 and 24 using cannabis frequently. What's this? 27% more frequently. So they've got quite this extensive report done here. Oh, it's great. It is quite intensive. Okay, and part micro cultivators are at 0.9%. Biggest standard cultivators 43%. See, like this is where our micro growers are. That's not fair, and that's not right. Okay, criminal penalties for Cannabis Act still sits here. Bonk. Public possession more than 30 grams. Unauthorized distribution producing cannabis beyond personal cultivation, producing cannabis with organic solvents, taking cannabis across the Canada border, giving or selling cannabis to a person under the age of 18, using a youth to commit a cannabis-related offense. So these are still within the Criminal Penalties Act of Canada. So they still have that on there. I told him he was going to be the opening to the show. He's just the continual hindrance to the show. Mr. Bubba. Oh, little Bubba. Yeah, he's a pain in the butt. Anyway, so we've got all of these stats and all this stuff. And of course, this is all on the Canadian website, Canada government website, where you can go and access any of this anytime. There's lots here controlled in substance tax still. And so we're still inciting involving of cannabis, reporting 47,000 incidents involving cannabis in 2019 with the Cannabis Act in place. Court systems, okay, formal youth possession, okay, 2019. Recently studied a dramatic reduction in number of youth cannabis possession offenses following legalization. Additionally, the percentage of youth possession cases involving formal diversions out of the court systems has increased from 79% to 21%. Despite these positive trends, the author points the need for more studies and analyzation. Offender resulting rose from in 20 accounting for incidents. While there has been a year-over-year decline in cannabis possession charges, law enforcement personnel continue to investigate cannabis-related incidents, whether under Cannabis Act or under provincial laws and government. A total of 28,794 incidents were reported in 2019 and 2020 under the Cannabis Act. These incidents do not capture the additional resources that law enforcement personnel expend to enforce provincial non-criminal cannabis-related offenses, including fines and tickets. But the trend is down, 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 down. And then it's up here. See, illicit, legal. Anyway, I'd have to actually sit down and really go through this and read it. Doing it now, just kind of, scrolling through with my ADHD brain doesn't really help much. But there's a lot of stats on there, and I don't see any stats stating that the death rate is up since legalization of cannabis. Just saying. Nothing comes up. Nothing. And I'm sorry about that because I'm still going to keep looking, but I just don't see any death rates up in Canada. Crime stats. Here we go. This is something that we should discuss right here. This was a good one. Okay, so what has cannabis contributed to our overall industry contributions? Because this is something that nobody wants to talk about. This is something that all the conservatives want to scream about our GDP and, where's all the money and where our deficit and, balance the budget, it'll balance itself, is what I get thrown at me. It is balancing itself with cannabis, you dumb fuckers. So, do you see that number? $43.5 billion. $43 billion. Are you seeing that? Right? Yeah. Are you seeing this? $43.5 billion. Yep. In taxation. So when you're asking where the money for all these new huge contributions are going and coming from, thank a pothead, dude. Because seriously, when you ask where the money's coming, and that's what we always told them. We'd be sitting around and yapping on the, and I'd be saying, show them the money. Show them the money, they'll legalize it. And they did. Show them the money. Oh, it's getting chilly in here. Or I'm just like, yeah, it's kind of rainy. And I hate putting on my house coat, but it's freaking cold. Sorry. Not even sorry. I'm putting it back on. It's my day off. If I want to stay in my jammies all day, I'm gonna. And my dogs are barking again, of course. And I don't know why. Stop. Okay, so back to where we are here. Still looking up death rates increasing in Canada since legalization. Very large increase in weed-related traffic injuries. 5 years illegal. Okay, so here we got a large increase. This is global news. Very large increase in weed-related traffic injuries since legalization. Study. Over a span of 11 years, annual rates of Ontario emergency blah blah traffic injuries surged dramatically, according to a recent study from the Ottawa Hospital. Published on Wednesday, JAMA Network looked at cannabis involvement in emergency room visits for traffic injuries between 2010 and 2021 in Ontario. It examined shifts in cannabis consumption and driving habits following federal legalization in 2018. Our data raises concerns about a growing problem of cannabis impairment and severe road injuries. Who is also a fellow at Bruins Research Institute at the University of Ottawa. Since 2010, there's been a very, very large increase in cannabis involvement in traffic injury visits in Ontario. The study also found sharper spikes in marijuana involvement in traffic injury emergency visits following legalization, he added. October 17th, 2018 was legalization, of course. Found the legalization of cannabis was associated with increase in overall consumption, especially among people aged 25 and older. This is because cannabis can impair the cognitive and motor abilities necessary to operate a vehicle. With rising cannabis over the years, Muir and his research team wanted to find out whether shifts in cannabis impaired driving. Going to legalization, one of the major public health concerns might see increased cannabis impaired driving problems with road safety. There's a pretty large body of evidence showing that cannabis use impairs people's driving performance, but it's much less clear of what happens when you change regulations of cannabis on driving. A 475% increase. Oh, really? So since 2010, the rate of total traffic injury emergency room visits involved cannabis increased by 475.3%. According to this study. During the same time period, the researchers found the rate of total traffic injury emergency room visits that involved alcohol increased by 9.4%. All right. So the researchers then looked for a documented case of cannabis involvement. So someone is in a merge, they have a traffic injury, and the treat team felt that cannabis used to contribute to traffic injury. Moore explained, out of the 947,604 traffic injuries, injury emergency room 426 had documented cannabis involvement. The study found the data did now specify what time cannabis strain was detected. What time of cannabis strain? That doesn't make sense. What time of cannabis strain was detected? Is this even a real fucking article? What data did now specify what time of cannabis strain was detected? 426 people out of 947,000. Okay, I think this is global news. And none of this makes sense. And like I said, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Make it make sense. It's not even. Okay. Anyways, I don't know who's writing for global, but that doesn't make sense. After legalization, with more retail stores, blah, blah, witness greater increase. The prior has also overlapped with COVID-19. Cannabis involved traffic injuries, visits were increased pre-legalization. The study also found younger adults, particularly males, had an increased risk of cannabis-involved traffic injuries. Okay. National fatalities show that January 2016, October 2018, 21.5% of drivers killed in collisions in Canada tested positive for cannabis use. He said, however, from October 2018 to the end of 2020, this figure rose to 26.4%, according to Brown. Yeah, but here's the thing there, dude. Cannabis will show up in your blood weeks after. Weeks. Anyways, on that note, we have to take a quick break and thank our sponsors. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Cannabis edibles are an effective way to manage pain and other ailments, especially when you deal with your trusted partner, Legacy 420, in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. You see, we lab test every product on site to ensure proper dosage every time, which is critical when consuming cannabis edibles. All Legacy 420 edibles are made by our classically trained baker and chocolatier, and we also have super tasty vegan options.
Our baker has been in the industry for 25 years. She's also a chocolatier. Everything from savory to sweet, your chocolate bars, brownies, butter tarts, you name it, we make it.
Talk to our knowledgeable Cannatex about our incredible variety available. Give your trusted partners a call. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
All right, so we're going to start with this because, of course, I was doing some digging while we were on break and found this is up from yesterday, I think, or today. Actually, I think today this was posted. And since, or was this October? October 10th. Okay, so this was October 10th. This was posted. And again, because we cannot share on Facebook any of our news outlets because, you know, Zuckerberg sucks. But anyways, we're gonna run this and hopefully it'll play because we are live on Facebook as well. So we're gonna try this and see what it does. Let's see.
5 years post legal.
Someone's keeping it 100 with that new limited time DQ sauce
There's
and
an
tossed
advertisement.
garlic chicken strip basket. As in 100% seasoned white meat chicken sauced and tossed to 100%
Not
garlic
awesome.
perfection. So try it now. Only at DQ. Get it delivered at
Oh,
DQ.ca.
Legalization. Public health experts say more Canadians are using cannabis. Hospitalizations are up, and the drug is linked to some serious health concerns.
So this is one of the things we need to take seriously and try to change.
A commentary published in the Canadian Medical Association journal outlines cannabis use has increased to more than a quarter of Canadians. The number of pot-related pregnancy care cases has doubled, harming newborns. And while still rare, 3 times as many children were poisoned by edible cannabis products.
This is disconcerting. This is not what was ideally expected from legalization.
Studies show Alberta and Ontario have seen a 20% increase in cannabis-related ER visits, including more cases of cannabis-induced psychosis. Doctors say that's troubling.
If you have an emerge visit for cannabis-induced psychosis, in absolute terms, you have a 26% chance of developing schizophrenia within 3 years.
We still need to understand what are the biological mechanisms of why some people are more vulnerable than others.
She adds pot users under 16 are at higher risk of mental health problems. While legalization was supposed to cut youth usage, surveys show 30 to 50% are still using cannabis, one of the highest rates in the world.
The first time I smoked cannabis to deal with my stress, I failed 2 courses in a year. And then was homeless at the end of that semester.
Lucas Wade became addicted and tried to take his own life. He says governments need better pot policies.
You have an ethical responsibility to make treatment for that substance just as accessible as it is getting the substance itself.
While the health impacts of legal pot have largely been negative, experts say fewer arrests and criminal charges related to cannabis use can be seen as social justice wins that may indirectly
Keep in mind, this is the
public
first time I'm
health.
seeing
But
that.
doctors insist, going forward, governments need to refine the rules, start treating cannabis more like tobacco. Christine Burak, CBC News, Toronto.
That was fucking horrific. Where did they find Mr. I'm addicted and was homeless by the time I was done smoking cannabis? Oh my God. That's the... Has nobody seen that? Why is nobody saying anything about that? I guess because we hadn't seen it. That's the first time I've seen it too. To be fair, my eyes have been glued on Gaza. Diversions and being sidetracked and everything that's going on in this world. Like, oh my fucking God. Okay, hot flash. It's not hot flash. Now I'm mad because that was the most ridiculous shit I've ever seen in my life. Okay, I'm just gonna take a moment. That's not looking good, folks. Okay, let's go back and see what else this bloody thing says. Canadian Medical Association's journal. Okay, what does this say? Okay, I guess we'll bring it up so we can read it. So this says here, now the paper doesn't examine the greater uptake of medical cannabis. So it doesn't examine a greater uptake of medical cannabis, which has been regulated by the government since 2001. More than a quarter of adults say they use cannabis, up to 22% in 2017. Cannabis is widely available, normalized, and even promoted. I don't, the harms. Large uptick in cannabis poisonings. Large uptick. I think that's what they said it was, had happened, but it was rare. Oh my God. 105,000 hospitalizations for cannabis over a 7-year period. 1/3 were among people aged 15 to 24. Nearly 70,000 or 66% were young males. During the early years of legalization, with tightly controlled product and limited store access, the rate of hospitalizations didn't notably change. However, data suggests that the commercial period is accompanied by an increase of cannabis hospitalizations, particularly among young people aged 25 and older. The study's author says. Going from a couple of cannabis stores in the city to hundreds increased availability, which leads to overuse problems. What? Like, fuck off. Is this satire? Like, what in the fuck is this? They have almost 2% risk of developing schizophrenia within 3 years in comparison to the general population. Cannabis-induced psychosis is the largest related increase of hospitalizations, the study says. How can you dispute the study? I now have a severe headache. Like, I can't. I'm having a hard time swallowing. Is anybody paying attention to this? The harms. Okay, well then it's okay. Let's keep reading, folks. Impaired driving numbers could be lower as a result of people not venturing out of their homes during the COVID pandemic. Mirren calls the effects of legalization an unfinished story. Doctors and scientists want better tracking on demand for treatment of cannabis use disorder and how many people may be substituting or other substances to get high. Our data would not, well, not conclusive. Our data, while not conclusive, is hinting that the market expands when you see greater levels of market maturity. New products that you see the increase in cannabis harms. The data will not conclusive. But if you read through this article, all it is negative, 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 negative. Negative. Psychosis. Hospitalizations. In comparison to what our population is, which is millions, you got 107,000 across the whole country in the last 7 years. That's not many people. Oh, now I'm cold again. All right. So as we go through and we start seeing, okay. We're gonna bring this one in now too. Share this tab instead. Okay, so we're gonna. This is the other CMJ website. Oh my god. Where am I? This is 2018. Like I said, sometimes I want to go like doing this and then I get sidetracked and put on a tangent and then it all gets negative and I don't want to do that. So we're going to stop doing this because I want to keep on a lighter note. There's too much, shit going on in the world right now that we don't need to keep down negative siding things. Anyways, back to, how's everybody doing? My show's almost over actually because I've been ranting about legalization and what they're finding and some of it I just don't believe. I'm having a hard time swallowing it. Just saying. But I have found, the legalized market not to be too bad. And affordability, this stuff's actually local. It's made by Daicar Pharmaceutical, I believe. I don't know. They don't really say on these packagings anymore. And their packaging is pretty basic. We've got a little orange container. This is tiger berry fruit. It's THC is 87. It says 878.8 milligrams. Hmm. 800 and some milligrams. Okay. 878.8 milligrams per gram. I don't know what that means. The effects from eating or drinking cannabis can be long-lasting. The effects can last between 6 and 12 hours. And that's on the packaging right there, the warning about eating and consuming cannabis. And you know what? It's for some people. Yeah, for some people it can be. You bet. I'm not going to sit here and dispute that. And what do you do with any medicine? You start low and slow, right? Usually you're not going to go and bang off like, so you got chronic pain, right? They're not going to start you out on like 1,000 milligrams of morphine. They're not. They're not going to start you out on 1,000 grams of morphine. So why would you think that they're going to start you out on 1,000 grams of fucking THC? Asking for a friend. You might get yourself there. You might need that much. I'm not disputing that. But even when you go to your doctor, I hate these things. This is like, you need to be like, I don't know, it's hard to get into. I hate getting into them. But again, they're, like I said, you're going to go to your doctor. And myself, I know the cycle. Chronic pain, well, we'll start you with some Tylenol 3. And then we'll get you to Percocet. And then you skip right through to the Oxy because I don't want that shit. And then we'll get you on morphine. And then when that wasn't working, it was hydromorphine. And not high levels of that either. They were all like very small, and even my prescription now is like 2 milligrams. Like it's not a lot, right? 2 milligrams. Not 1,000. Anyway, I know you don't want to hear it and you don't like hearing what I say because I can't get into this fucking thing. Rather disappointing. Oh, I can't even. Like, why does everything have to be so hard? I don't know what I need to do with this. Like, seriously, like, how do you... I've already cut the little paper off. Little tab. You can't get this thing to poke in, I think is what the thing is. Because there's a pokey thing on the side, and then you got to push. So that's now in. And now you got to push. And I've got a finger that's cut, and my hands are sore today because I didn't take my methotrexate this week. Because there was a guy that came into my store that stood over me and said, I shouldn't be gone too close from home. I got COVID. So I didn't take my methotrexate this week because I didn't want to be exposed. I was exposed, and I don't want to have no immunity this week. I can't afford to be sick. I can't do it. Okay, I don't know how I'm going to get in here. I really don't. Like, this is like unmagical right now. I'm not impressed. I cannot get into this fucking thing. This is not magical. Like, come on. Haha. There we go. My monkey. That thing. Okay, so we're in this thing. Finally. And they come in like, little boxes with all the little attachments and all the things. Now this thing is the kicker. So to change this, and if you ever buy a Yocan, remember, don't just pitch your thing because you've got this. You got to take this little thing off. Come on. Oh my God. Of course it won't because it's stuck right in there because, it's oil. We all know what that does. You know how easy that is to get off. Not. Anyways, this is going to be a kicker. Probably take me 10 minutes to do this. Just to get this off so I can use it because it's ridiculous. It gets like stuck on, right? Because of the heat. Oh, for God's sakes. Oh, here we go. It's coming off now. So you have this little thing. So here's your end, right? Put that back in that box because there's a little bit left. But you have to like screw this on to put it in there. Because if you don't, you're screwed. Anyway, that's with the Yocan. And it's a pretty good one. Like, I don't mind it. Anyway, so, oh, and it's almost dead. But that's, ooh, that tastes pretty good. Mm. Anyways, folks, I am going, well, we've got 10 minutes left of the show. And I'm going to do some shout outs, I guess, to Al. We'll be back on to night again on the Pace Radio Show at 6 o'clock my time. And then I'd also want to shout out to our sponsors, which, thankful and grateful that you put your faith in our network to allow your businesses to be advertised on our network. Yeah, and just to the general pop, keep asking questions about everything. Like I said, I'm now, reading some articles about cannabis. Because I said, to be honest, my head's been stuck on, what's going on worldwide. I haven't been paying attention to cannabis, and I'm not going to lie. And I also been working. And anyway, yeah, that's where I'm at. So I've got a kid that I've got to take to school, I think, at some point today. I don't know what's going on with him. And yeah, but thanks for joining me today, and thanks for interacting, and appreciate the comments. And we have to keep our heads I guess in the game, because by the looks of it, maybe our medical program, but it says our medical program is under legislation since 2001. I'm pretty positive that they can't just yank our program. I think that's something that is legislatively there, and because it was fought in the Supreme Court and they had to come up with a program, I don't think that's something that will ever go away. I think they would have to legislate it out. Even though it was rolled into the Cannabis Act, I think it's still untouchable. But again, like I said, we can, so we got questions and answers on cannabis and human rights. Because they've changed the laws too, it could mean different things, right? Okay, so we're going to add this one too. We got a few minutes. So this is another tab that I found. It's Human Rights Commission on the Ontario Cannabis Human Rights Code. Do new cannabis laws change how much policies apply? Code and the OHRC policies still apply the same as they do for other drugs. Like other drugs use, the code protects people with disabilities who use cannabis for medical purposes from discriminatory treatment, including harassment, employment, housing, and services, and delivery. So that's not changed. The code has also prohibited discrimination against people who have or perceive to have an addiction to cannabis based on the grounds of disability. The groups have the right to disability-related accommodation to the point of undue hardship that is significant health and safety risks. The laws mean employees can smoke or vape cannabis for medical purposes in an enclosed workplace. No, like tobacco, it's the same. You can't. What about the edibles? Employee can consume edible cannabis for medical purposes related to disability at work as long as it does not interfere with health and safety or performance of essential job duties. That's in Ontario. So this has always been here. Interesting. So again, you can take a minute and just go and Google this stuff, because that's what I do a lot of times, or I talk to people that might know. Anyways, we're gonna wrap it up here. I've got noon clicking around the corner. It's 1 o'clock here actually. So I hope you all had a good week, and yeah, stay happy if you can. Try and stay positive if you can. I know in this shit show of life it's difficult, but we have to try to keep moving forward. Anyways, you all have a great week. I'll see you next week on my, on here. We will be back next week, I think. Yes, we will. Okay? You guys have a great week. Oh my goodness, where am I at? I don't know what I'm doing as usual. You know. Have a great week, folks. Bye.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.